You planned everything, so why are you still awake at 2 a.m.? You replay one meeting in your head and rewrite your reply 20 times. You check the budget again at midnight. You try to control the moving parts so you can feel safe. It works for a day. Then the next surprise hits, and the knot returns. If control really worked, you would be sleeping better by now. This is the moment many of us are living in. Here is the claim I want you to test with me. What we use to feel safe is the very thing stealing our peace. The Bible gives a different order. Start with trust. Then take steps. Jesus asked a plain question. Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? Matt 6:27. Short quote. That is not a shaming line. It is a practical check. Worry burns fuel and adds nothing to the clock. Let me make it Monday level. A project manager I know kept every task on a color-coded board. She messaged her team late at night to make sure nothing slipped. She thought constant control would prevent mistakes. The team got quiet. People hid small problems because they feared the next ping. Deadlines were met, but trust fell. She felt more alone and more tired. When she eased her grip and set clear check-ins during the day, the team started surfacing issues earlier. Fewer fires, more sleep. Control had promised safety. It charged peace instead. By trust, I do not mean a mood. I mean a decision to rely on God's character and guidance when outcomes are unclear. This means I do my part with honesty and effort, and I release what I cannot control. We will unpack this with simple tools you can use this week. We will look at how Jesus reorders our priorities. We will learn a daily practice from the manna story. Manna means daily bread in the wilderness. We will ask 3 questions before big decisions. We will face the hard case when things still go wrong. Here is the good news. Trust does not make you passive. Trust makes you clear. You stop trying to steer what is not yours, and you start doing the next faithful step that is yours. That is how peace returns one decision at a time. Let's move into what trust actually means and how to practice it. Reflection. Where has control promised you safety but charged you peace this month? Most of us live by a quiet rule. If I plan harder, I'll feel safer. We add another app, another checklist, another late-night review. For a few hours, the fear goes quiet. Then one email or one text breaks the spell. That is the mark of an illusion, something that feels true but fails in real life. Control gives the feeling of safety without the substance of peace. Therefore, anxiety grows because we're leaning on something that can't carry our weight. Let's name the pattern at work. You over-prepare the deck, script the meeting, and try to answer every possible question before it is asked. During the call, a client throws a curve. You talk faster. You promise a change by tomorrow. You leave the room wired, not wiser. The illusion said, cover every angle and nothing will surprise you. Reality said, surprises are part of life. Speed won't save you. Therefore, your heart keeps racing because your strategy depends on no one else acting human. Now bring it home. A parent I know tracked every minute of the evening homework, dinner, dishes, showers, lights out. The schedule looked perfect. But kids spilled milk, argued over a charger, and needed help with a tough problem. The clock slipped. Voices rose. Bedtime became a battle. The parent wasn't cruel. They were scared of falling behind. When they swapped the rigid script for 2 anchors, kind words first and lights out by 9, the evenings calmed down. The plan got simpler. The peace got stronger. Control had been the problem, not the solution. Scripture names this gently and clearly. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. Proverbs 16:9 short quote. Planning is good. Making a plan is not the same as guaranteeing an outcome. Trust says, I'll plan my part and walk it. God will steady the steps I can't control. Control says, if I plan perfectly, I can force the result. Therefore, control turns you inward and tighter. Trust opens your hands so you can see what is actually happening and respond with wisdom. Here is a small test you can use this week. After you make a plan, ask, what will I do if this key part changes? Write one calm response in one line. Then stop. This is not doomsday thinking. This is loosening the grip so you can move with clarity when life shifts. Reflection. Where did your plan fall apart even though you did everything right? And what calm response could you write for the next time? Here is a clear definition. Trust means I rely on God's character and guidance when outcomes are unclear. Character means who God is, faithful, wise, good. Guidance means what God has said and how He leads through Scripture, prayer, and wise counsel, trusted people who know the Bible and know me. This is steady and practical. It does not require a special feeling. It requires a choice. The Bible gives a short map. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Prov 3:5-6 short quote. Lean, not on your own understanding, means do not base all choices on your limited view. This does not ban thinking. It warns against acting as if your view is full and final. Therefore, trust uses your mind, but it does not worship your mind. You weigh facts, you pray, you ask counsel, and you obey what is clear even if the ending is not. Trust moves in steps. Step 1. Obey what Scripture already makes clear. Tell the truth. Keep your word. Refuse gossip spreading another's fault. Step 2. Do the next faithful action you can see. Make the call. Send the note. Submit honest work. Step 3. Release what you cannot control. You cannot control other people's reactions, the timing of results, or sudden changes. Therefore, you act where you have responsibility, and you open your hands where you do not. Let me ground this at work. A salesperson saw a chance to close a deal by hiding a small limitation in the product. Hiding looked safe. Telling the truth looked risky. Trust asked, "What has God already said?" The answer was simple. Speak truth. They told the client the limitation and suggested a workaround. The client paused. The deal did not close that day. 2 months later, the client returned and bought a larger package, saying, "I felt I could trust you." The person could not control timing. They could control honesty. Therefore, trust protected both peace and reputation, while control would have chased a quick win with a hidden cost. Here is a brief historical note. In Israel's wisdom tradition, the Proverbs' heart meant the control center of thought, will, and desire. Trust with all your heart means bring your full self under God's care and direction. This is not blind. It is informed loyalty, a choice to rely on God because of who He is and what He has said. Try a simple practice today. Before a decision, ask, what part is mine to do in truth and love? Do that part. Then say, Father, I trust you with outcomes, and move on to the next task. This breaks the loop of second-guessing and frees you to act with clarity. Reflection. What next step is clear for you, even if the final result is not? First-century workers lived on day wages. Food security was fragile. Many listeners to Jesus did not know if tomorrow's pay would cover tomorrow's bread. Into that fear, Jesus gave an order of priorities. Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Matt 6:33. Short quote. Kingdom first means God's ways first. Righteousness, right living, means truthful work, honest dealing, and care for people. Therefore, trust redirects attention. You stop staring at outcomes you cannot lock down. You start doing the right next action you can do today. Jesus points to the Father's care. He is not telling people to quit jobs. He is telling people to quit anxiety as a strategy. Worry burns energy and gives no return. Clear priorities. Free that energy for faithful action. Let's bring this to a paycheck week. You face bills, a tight deadline, and a boss who pushes late messages. Kingdom first looks like this. You do the agreed hours with focus. You tell the truth about progress. You refuse to cut corners that would mislead the client. You set a boundary for rest so you can serve well tomorrow. You give a small gift or help to someone in need when you sense the prompt and can afford it. You pray over your expenses and choose one unnecessary cost to cut this month. Therefore, you practice trust while still working hard. Here is a second example at home. Groceries cost more. You plan simple meals. You cook once and reuse leftovers. You invite a neighbor to share a pot of soup and split costs. You write one budget line for thank you money, a small amount set aside to bless someone. You track spending for 7 days. You thank God for each meal out loud. This trains your heart to see provision. This is daily bread living in modern form. One short glossary to keep us clear. Providence means God's ongoing care over the details of life. It does not promise easy days. It promises that God's care meets you in real needs. Therefore, you can release panic and take steady steps. Try this small move today. Write your top 3 priorities that match God's ways. Put them at the top of your to-do list. When a surprise hits, return to those 3. Say, Father, I will do what is right and trust you with what I cannot control. Then do the next task. Reflection. Which single priority, truth, care, or rest would change your week most if you put it first? Control feels smart at first. You get a quick hit of certainty. You push a little harder. You answer one more message. You review the plan one more time. Then the bill shows up. The bill is sleeplessness, a short temper, and thin relationships. You do more and enjoy less. Peace shrinks, even while your checklist grows. Therefore, control is expensive in ways you do not see until you are tired and alone. Let's name 3 common costs. First, your body pays. Late nights and stress stack up. You wake at 2 a.m. with a racing mind. Your stomach tightens during small problems. You feel wired on a day that should feel normal. Second, your relationships pay. People feel managed, not loved. They give you silence instead of truth. They wait for you to decide instead of bringing ideas. Third, your judgment pays. Fear narrows your vision. You react fast to stop discomfort. You miss the slow choice that would have helped more. Therefore, control undercuts the very wisdom you are trying to protect. Here is a simple story from work. A team lead wanted 0 errors on a launch. She checked every draft herself. She edited while people watched. She changed timelines without asking. The team started hiding small issues. They thought, why speak if she will redo it anyway? A tiny bug slipped through because no one wanted to bring bad news late. After launch, she did something new. She set 2 daily check-in windows. She asked, what is blocked and what do you need from me? She stopped midnight edits. The next sprint had more issues raised early and fewer last-minute fires. Therefore, trust created safety, and safety surfaced the truth. Home carries a similar bill. A dad set strict rules for chores and bedtime. He corrected tone on every sentence. He wanted a peaceful home. The house grew tense. The kids waited to be told what to do. His wife avoided bringing up real concerns. He noticed that dinner felt quiet and short. He named the cost. He changed one thing. He kept the 2 most important rules and praised small steps. The table talk warmed up. The chores still got done. The home felt lighter. Therefore, control had been choking the love he wanted. Scripture invites a different move. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Ephesians 5:7. Short quote. Cast means put the weight down in prayer. This is not a slogan. This is a practice. You say the fear out loud to God. You ask for help with what you cannot control. You do the next honest task. You let people own their part. You go to bed. You trust that care is bigger than your grip. Try a cost check tonight. Write 3 lines. My body paid when swagwarar. My relationships paid when twagwarar. My judgment paid when bra. Then write 1 release line. Father, I put this into your hands and will take this one faithful step. Do the step, leave the rest. Reflection. Which cost are you paying right now? Sleep, peace, or connection? And what one release step will you take today? Israel walked a desert road after leaving Egypt. Food was scarce. In that setting, God gave bread from heaven each morning. The instruction was simple: gather enough for that day. Exod 16:4. Short quote. If they hoarded it, spoiled with worms by the next sunrise. This was not a food trick. This was daily training in trust. Notice the design. Need arrives every day. Provision arrives every day. Therefore, people learn that security sits in God's care, not in stockpiles. Planning is still good. Israel had to wake up, go out and gather. But the limit taught a boundary. Work hard today. Receive today's share. Stop when the day is done. Here is what manna, the daily bread, means for us. We often try to do tomorrow's work today. We answer emails at midnight to control outcomes. We stack back-to-back tasks to outrun worry. The result is the same as hoarding. Our extra effort spoils our peace by morning. Therefore, we practice a new limit: finish the faithful portion, then stop. Make it Monday level at work. Start with a clear list for today. Mark the top 3 tasks that truly move things forward. Do those with focus. Write 1 tomorrow list so your brain can rest. At a set time stop. Tell your team when you will be reachable again. You are not quitting. You are honoring the manna limit, a daily boundary set for trust and health. The next morning, gather again. Bring it home. Dinner dishes, homework, bedtime can feel like a desert sprint. Choose 2 anchors, kind words first, and lights out by a set time. If a curveball hits, protect the anchors and let lower tasks roll to tomorrow. This is not laziness. This is portion control for peace. You will serve better tomorrow because you rested today. A small historical note. Exodus places this story in the Sinai wilderness rocky desert. Little agriculture. God's lesson fit the land. People could not plant. They had to receive. The point was not to ban preparation forever. The point was to teach hearts to trust daily before building barns later in the promised land. Try the manna timer today. Pick a stop time for work. Set a phone reminder 15 minutes before. When it chimes, finish 1 small task. Write the handoff note. Pray 1 line. Father, I trust you with what is left, and stop. You will feel the urge to push past it. That urge is the control reflex. Let the timer retrain it. 1 short verse to keep in view. Gather enough for that day. Exod 16:4. Short quote. Clear, simple, repeatable. Therefore, peace grows not by doing more, but by trusting more, while doing what is yours today. Reflection. What is your honest manna limit today, and where are you most tempted to overcollect? The story sits on a mountain in the region of Moriah. God told Abraham to offer Isaac. This was a test of loyalty, a proving of the heart. God never meant for a child to be harmed. The angel stops the act. A ram appears in the thicket. The point is clear. Abraham must walk the steps he knows, while God guards the outcome he cannot see. Here is the movement. Abraham rises early. He cuts wood. He travels. He climbs. He builds an altar, a simple place for worship and sacrifice. He binds Isaac. He lifts the knife. At that point, God breaks in and provides the substitute. 1 short line frames Abraham's view on the way up. God will provide. Gen 22:8. Short quote. Therefore, trust looks like steady obedience in the part that is yours. Provision looks like God's answer in the part that is not yours. Add a brief cultural note. In the ancient Near East offerings were common signs of devotion. Israel's scriptures reject child sacrifice and mark this story as a turning point. God reveals his character. He tests Abraham, but does not accept harm. He provides the ram. The lesson is not cruelty. The lesson is loyalty to God's voice and confidence in God's care. Bring this into a modern week. A mother faces a hard boundary with her adult son who keeps asking for money to cover irresponsible choices. Love pushes her to say yes again. Fear of losing the relationship pulls her toward control. Trust asks for a different step. She says, I will help with food and job applications, but I will not fund the cycle. She walks the steps. She knows kindness, truth, and a clear line. She releases the outcome, whether he gets angry, how fast he changes when he returns. Weeks are tense. Then he takes a part-time job and asks for budget help. She did not control him. She trusted God with him. The ram was not visible on day one. The provision came later. Another case sits at work. You tell the truth about a flaw before a product demo. You expect to lose the sale. You do the right step anyway. The client pauses. They ask for a plan to fix the flaw. They choose a smaller pilot and extend later. Your part was honesty and effort. The outcome was timing and favor. Therefore, trust protects your peace and your name, while control would have chased a short-term win with long-term damage. Here is a small practice. Name one outcome you cannot control. Write it on a card. Under it, write one step you can take in faith and integrity. Do that step today. When fear spikes, read the card and pray one line. Father, I do my part, and I trust you to provide what I cannot. Then return to the task in front of you. Reflection. What outcome on the altar do you need to release today? And what single faithful step is yours to take? Many people here trust God and think, do nothing and hope. That is not trust. That is passivity, refusing to act when action is needed. Others here trust God and think, if I say the right words, God will cancel consequences. That is magical thinking, treating God like a tool to force outcomes. The Bible gives a different path. You act with integrity and diligence. You release control of results. In quietness and trust is your strength. Isa 30:15a short quote. Quietness means a settled heart while you do the next right thing. Trust means you refuse to grip the outcome. Here is a simple diagram in words. God's part, guidance, provision, timing, and the hearts of other people. My part, honesty, effort, skill growth, boundaries, and follow through. Therefore, I focus on my part every day. I pray for God's part every day. I do not trade them. A boundary protects trust. A boundary is a clear limit on what I will do and what I will allow. Boundaries are not punishment. Boundaries are stewardship, careful management of what God has given me. Example at work. Your manager asks for weekend hours every week without pay. Passivity says nothing and burns out. Control explodes in anger and quits without a plan. Trust sets a boundary with respect. I can work one Saturday this month if needed. I cannot work unpaid weekends every week. Here is my plan to hit the deadline by Friday. You keep your word. You protect health. You trust God with the outcome. Maybe the manager adjusts. Maybe you begin a job search. Either way, your soul stays steady. Example in dating. You want a healthy relationship. Passivity keeps tolerating disrespect to avoid being alone. Magical thinking says, if I pray hard enough, they will change while I ignore the red flags. Trust has a boundary. I will continue if we both pursue honesty, counseling if needed, and mutual respect. If not, I will step back. You act with clarity. You trust God with timing and future. Example, with money. A friend pitches a risky plan, and urges you to trust God and invest now. Passivity avoids the hard conversation. Control lectures them and ends the friendship. Trust asks questions, checks facts, and declines if it violates wisdom. You still love your friend. You do not gamble to please them. You trust God to provide through honest work and simple choices. Passivity waits for perfect certainty. Trust moves on clear light and accepts limited visibility. Magical thinking tries to speak a preferred future into place. Trust prays plans and obeys the next clear step. Try a quick audit tonight. Write 2 columns, God's part and my part. Place each worry item under the right column. Circle 1 item under my part. Do that step tomorrow morning. Pray once for everything under God's part, then close the notebook. This trains your mind to stop crossing the line. Reflection. Which boundary, time, money, or relationship would honor God and protect your trust this week? Here is your simple test for any real decision. Question 1. What does Scripture already make clear about this choice? This means you check the basics: honesty, love of neighbor, sexual integrity, fairness with money. If Scripture speaks, you already have light. Question 2. What step shows love for God and neighbor? Here, love seeking another's good is the summary filter. Question 3. If this fails, would I still be at peace that I obeyed? This guards motive. You aim for faithfulness, not control of the outcome. Use it in a common moment. A recruiter calls with a job that pays more but expects dishonest reporting. Question 1 says the answer is no, because honesty is non-negotiable. Question 2 asks how to love both your current team and your family. You tell the truth to the recruiter and keep serving well while you seek other options. Question 3 checks your heart. If the offer falls apart after you name your standard, you can sleep because you obeyed. Add a second case at home. You want to buy a newer car. Question 1. Does Scripture forbid debt? It does not, but it warns against slavery to payments. Question 2. What action best loves your household? Maybe you choose a reliable used car and keep margin in the budget. Question 3. If the car needs repairs early, can you still say you acted in faith and wisdom? If yes, proceed. If no, delay. Now add 2 habits that make this test natural. Habit 1. A 30-second breath prayer. Breathe in slowly and say, Father, I trust you. Breathe out and say, I release outcomes. Do this before emails, purchases, and hard talks. It slows your body and resets your aim. One short verse backs this. If any of you lacks wisdom, ask God. Jazz 1:5. Short quote. Therefore you ask, you act, and you let go. Habit 2. A weekly Sabbath-hour. Sabbath, rest, that honors God is a set time where you stop producing. Put your phone away. Take a slow walk. Read a psalm, a prayer song in the Bible out loud. Thank God for 3 good things from the week. Write 1 worry you are returning to God. End by planning the first faithful step for Monday. This single hour trains your heart to live as a person, not a machine. Here is a final tip. Put the 3 questions on a card. Keep it in your wallet or notes app. Use them in order. If the first one gives a clear answer, stop there. Do not overthink what God has already made plain. Reflection. Which will you try today? The 3 questions, the breath prayer, or the Sabbath hour, and where will you use it first? Mini-hook trust is proven most when outcomes disappoint. Sometimes you do everything right, and the results still sting. You told the truth. You stayed patient. You set a good boundary. The deal died. The diagnosis stayed. The relationship ended anyway. This is where many people quit trusting. They think if trust worked, I would have gotten the outcome I wanted. But trust never promised control of outcomes. Trust promised presence and guidance inside any outcome. Paul carried a thorn, a lasting weakness or pain. He heard this line, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." 2 Corinthians 12:9. Short quote. This means God meets you in limits and works through them. Here is what holds when life does not bend. First, your identity is secure. You are loved and called, not graded by this week's result. Second, your path is clear enough for today. You still have a next faithful step, even when the big picture is foggy. Third, your pain is not wasted. God can use it to grow endurance, steady strength under pressure, humility, honest smallness before God, and compassion, active care for others in pain. Therefore, trust matures when you stay with God in the no or the not yet. A real case at work. You applied for a role that fit your skills. You prepared well and prayed. Another person got it. Control would push you to scramble for quick validation or to sour on the team. Trust helps you grieve, then ask 2 questions. What can I learn for next time? What faithful step can I take today? You ask for feedback. You serve the new lead with a clean handoff. 3 months later, a different project opens that uses your strengths better. You could not plan that timing. You could choose integrity in the gap. A home example. You and your spouse set new habits after a hard season. You talk kindly for a week. Then an old conflict flares and hurts both of you. Control says, nothing changed. Why try? Trust says, we stumbled. We will repair and take one step again. You apologize without blame. You book a counselor. You keep the nightly 5-minute check-in. Progress looks slow, but it is real. Trust does not erase struggle. Trust keeps you moving through it. Add a health example. You practiced rest and prayer. You asked friends to support you. The medical news still came back hard. Control hunts for secret formulas online and spikes fear. Trust builds a circle. You name the facts. You let people help with meals and rides. You keep a small gratitude list. You ask God for strength for today. You follow the plan. You do not carry tomorrow's weight today. Peace shows up in pockets. Hope grows without denial. Here is the practice. Write 1 sentence that names the loss. Write 1 sentence that names your next faithful step. Pray 1 sentence, Father, stay with me here. Do the step. Trust lets you be honest about pain and steady in obedience both at once. Reflection. Where do you need endurance more than explanation right now? And what single faithful step will you take today? You started this journey with a knot in your chest and a calendar you could not tame. We named the illusion. Control promised safety, but charges peace. We define trust as relying on God's character and guidance when outcomes are unclear. Jesus replaced worry with priority. Seek God's ways first and work from there. Manna trained daily limits. Finish today's share, stop, rest. Abraham showed obedience while God guarded the outcome. We drew lines between God's part and your part, used the 3-question test, and added 2 habits to make trust stick. Do not worry about tomorrow. Matt 6:34a, short quote. That is your new rhythm. Trust first, then steps. Here is your same week plan. Pick 1 decision on your plate and run the 3 questions. Speak the breath prayer before your next email. Father, I trust you. I release outcomes. Schedule 1 Sabbath-hour on your calendar and protect it. Write 1 outcome on a card and place it on the altar by naming it to God. Tell 1 trusted person what you released and what step you will take. Therefore, peace returns in pieces you can actually practice. If you want to push to begin, do it now. Open your Notes app. Type the 3 questions at the top. Under them, write one decision that needs light. Give yourself 5 minutes. Answer honestly. Close the app and do the step you wrote. Tonight, set the Manna timer and stop on time. You will feel resistance. That is the control reflex. Smile, breathe, and choose trust again. I would love to hear your story. What line from today helped you most? And what outcome did you place on the altar? Drop it in the comments so someone else finds courage in your step. If this helped you breathe again, share it with one friend who needs relief from the grind. Next time, we'll get practical on boundaries. How to say no without guilt, and yes without burnout, so your trust can hold under pressure. Reflection. What will you release today? And what single faithful step will you take first?